Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to All Beer Inside Interviews. I'm your not-so-humble host, Karp, and today we are in the Old Port with the gentlemen from BreWskey. We have Derrick and Zack.
Hello.
Thanks for having us today, guys.
Hey.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
So what's the beer story? What brought you two together to create BreWskey?
The beer story, let's say, it's kind of a long one. We started the bar upstairs, me, Guillaume, and my other partner, Karine, who is my wife. We started the bar about 5 years ago upstairs. We were looking for a place for about 2 years to start a brewery, and then couldn't find anything. The permits were hard. We didn't have enough money. So we found a place on Craigslist and that was just for sale. And we visited it, and we're like, it works. This is what it's like. The price was right. Didn't really like the location, but we're like, we can probably make it work. And then went from there. After 5 months, decided to jump onto finding a contract brewery. Mm-hmm. Was able to find a contract brewery that did like our first beer, which was the Buck Ale in Drummondville. Did 2 or 3 beers with them, then found something a little bit more local because it was just 45-minute hour drive to go test the products, and you're like not too sure. It was a little bit harder, so we found something more local, and then we stayed with them for the rest of the thing. But then we were getting quality issues. Like every brewery that does contract stuff, we started getting quality issues, decided to figure out what are we going to do. And then the space opened up downstairs. This used to be a museum. It was just pretty much an open space with absolutely nothing. And then we decided to jump on it about 2 years ago. It took about a year to build it up. Mm-hmm. And then we were able to get the brewery open almost a year to the day now. And finally, the brewery itself was put in, and we outputted our first beers in October.
So Zack, what brought you into?
Essentially, Derrick and I used to play in a band together. Played in a hardcore band together. I've been working with Karine for like 8 or 9 years in different restaurants and whatnot. And we started, Derrick and I was a bartender here for a couple of years, and then Derrick and I started a travel YouTube show called Pourno, spelt with a Pourno. It's gross, but it's not that gross. Yeah. It's not as gross as you think it is. Yeah. It's just slow-mo pouring shots, exactly. We went and we interviewed all kinds of brewers, and we sat with the likes of John Kimmich, and I got extremely inspired, and so I'd asked Derrick if he would kind of take me under his wing, and we started homebrewing together. Mm-hmm. And ever since I caught the bug, and I couldn't stop. So now I brew with Derrick professionally here, and
that's awesome.
It's a home brewer's dream come true.
So you probably have some tasty beers to try today. What am I starting with?
That is the Cumulus, which is our last can release. It's a oat cream pale ale with Galaxy and Citra. Mm-hmm. So really smooth, easy to drink. Really turned out great.
Got that lovely hoppy nose on it.
Yeah. So
what's the alcohol percentage on this?
It's 5.5.
It's not too bad. Yeah, that's the type of beer I love.
It's a nice, easy drinker. It's because the pale ale version of beers is always that. Mm-hmm. It's pretty much an IPA, but a 5.5 is not an IPA. So, so we just call it pale ales. Yeah,
I'm not catching 5.5. I'm getting the right level of bitterness on my tongue, so it's great.
So one thing we at least try to do, pretty much all the beers have a certain amount of bitterness to them. Mm-hmm. They don't just it's not just the juice forward ones. I love that aspect, but I do also like the dryness that you get from a bit of bitterness on the back end.
Crushability is important.
Yeah, I love using the word crushable. It's just, I'm like, sure. Oh, look, a 10% Imperial Stout. Let's try it. Oh my God, this is super crushable. This is not safe.
Yeah.
So what were some difficulties and roadblocks you ran into first? Because you mentioned you found a Craigslist thing, and then contract brewing was a problem. But bringing this equipment in, getting permits, what kind of difficulties were those?
The permits weren't so bad. The alcohol permits for the terrace outside was so long for no reason, because it was just an extension of our actual permit. Because we the unified permits about last year, where now you just have the same address and they just extend permits on them. But it took what should have taken about 3 weeks took about 2.5 months. And it was we were pretty much running the terrace without a permit at some point, because it's just we have to make money,
especially in the Old Port.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's all the revenues on terrace.
Especially now, like across with the giant wheel and the zip line, you're getting just spill over, I'm sure.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I'm assuming you're not allowed to have kids inside the brew pub.
No,
so you
we
need
can't
the terrace.
Exactly. We don't have kids. We don't have because we are a brew pub, so it's a beer license. Apart from that, the construction, well, just fitting. If you see the size of the equipment here, fitting that equipment in here was one hell of an ordeal because it's very, very big. Like for sure, one of the biggest brew pubs for sure in Quebec in terms of equipment size, because we have a 14 hectoliter system, double tanks to 28 hectoliters, and we brought them all in through a tiny little door. Like pretty much, we'd have to open up the doors of the lauder tun to get it through the actual hole.
That was an interesting job. Let me tell you.
I'm assuming it's some sort of older building, so it's probably protected.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't just take out a window to bring everything in.
You could, but they wouldn't fit through the window anyway. It's too. It's like the windows are too small. It was. I wasn't sleeping the day before he came in. I was like, I don't know if it's gonna make it in, and it took almost 2 weeks to just get the equipment in, and with hydraulic lifts to flip them up and put them into position.
Yeah,
that's busy.
Yeah, and doing the other hardest one was the floor here is like 42 inches of concrete.
Okay.
It took 5 weeks of demo to just make one trench, that we can put drains in.
Wow, that's a lot of work.
Yeah,
but, worth it in the end at least.
Yeah,
that's,
slowed us down, but
where'd you come up with the name BreWskey?
That's because I was into beer. Guillaume, my partner, was into whiskey. Mm-hmm. So when the whole idea of the upstairs pub was we were going to offer good beers, good whiskey, beer, whiskey, BreWskey.
Cool.
As easy as that.
And simplicity is the best way to go sometimes.
Hence why the W is big, because it gives you that whiskey. You could almost see whiskey and you see the brew inside of it.
What's the second beer you brought me today?
That's the Règle de Trois.
3 rules?
Yeah. It's the triple IPA.
Okay.
It was made with Idaho Gem, which is a new hop, Idaho 7, and Simcoe.
Yeah.
7%?
10%.
10%.
Yeah.
It's early morning for that. Yeah, this is no like St. Patrick's Day, sitting back drinking a 10%.
It'll get you there quick.
No hints of a 10% though. No booziness at all.
No.
This is really smooth.
Yeah, because these ones, when we do the triples, that was in a tank for almost 4 weeks.
Okay.
Just to let it mellow out, because they come out sharp quick. Then just let it mellow out a bit, and then once because that was released maybe a week and a half ago, and it's hitting its nice peak right now, where it's just smoothed out and the sharpness
sitting in the keg.
It seems to really age quite well.
Yeah,
seems to get smoother and rounder as the time goes by.
Yeah, the high ABV and high hop ones seem to have you're kind of looking good 3 weeks after kegging to even like a month or 2 months after. Sometimes you taste them and you're like, wow, this is getting better every time.
Yeah, that's awesome. Very unique names and labels. Who came up with names and or labels?
Oh, the names are the most problematic aspect of brewing, I'd say, because we change all the time. Sometimes I wish we just stayed with one style of beer, because when we were running it upstairs, we came up with names and then we just started throwing numbers because I was just annoyed with it. And then downstairs, we started doing it, coming up with more names and trying to see what we can do with it. We're trying to stay maybe on the sense of somewhat sciencey names for our main IPA line, I guess. Mm-hmm. And then the other ones were just kind of throwing stuff together. But we kind of just sit around and we try to figure out what the best name is, and it's group effort. Pretty much everybody does it.
Yeah, there's a lot of throwing around names, a lot of throwing around some terrible names.
Yeah.
A lot of moments of hilarious names that unfortunately just can't be used as well. You know?
There's a brewery, I think it's in the States. It's a very inappropriate name, and people are like, how are you getting away with this? It's like the customers called it that. It's still on your social media. That part of it now, you're part of cancel culture now. You can't really do that kind of stuff.
I don't think people are going to be beer trading for that across the country.
The labeling, where does that come from?
Pretty much all the labels, we get it done with Fiverr. We used to try to do with local artists and stuff, but it's because of the amount of output, and we're only putting out maybe 1,500 cans, 2,000 cans, and they're just single run, so we have to spend a little bit less. So we just get it done on Fiverr, and then we get them printed with Heart Print in Montreal. Yeah,
you're actually the third brewery we've been to who's using Heart. So it's more environmentally friendly, to my understanding, which is great.
It is, but it's just so much easier for us, because you can you want like 70 cans, they'll print you 70 cans.
Okay.
So, and the alternative is just labeling, and labeling will end up costing more than printing. It's once you get to a big enough volume, it becomes like questionable if you should be printing or hard print will be more expensive than sleeving.
Yes.
So people go towards the sleeve, but for us, we're not going to bring back the same beer time and time again. We don't have space to store it, so just the hard print stuff is the way to go.
I believe it was one of our earlier interviews. He said the Régie wants everybody to move to these because it's
legally
better for the environment.
Legally, what it is that the labels in most cases are not legal, and the sleeve is barely. It's because they allow a certain amount of contaminants inside their aluminum, which this abides by. But like the second you throw a label on there, it's there's more contaminants than what's legally allowed. Same thing with the sleeve. So they really right now everybody is kind of on borrowed time now doing the sleeve stuff because it's just not as easy to do it. So at some point it might crack down.
I wouldn't mind being on Hart's financial books personally, the way they're going from what I've heard from all the brewers.
But then you have a lot of people love the are collectors of labels, so they don't necessarily like these as much. For the vast majority, it doesn't matter. Like you just get the can, you drink it, you throw it out. But then you have the rare person that's like, I want to have that label, and pull that label and put it in a book or.
Well, to me, I think at that point, that's another market you can maybe tap into is just have the label like in cellophane or something, or a frame and sell it to somebody. I'm sure people would buy it. People buy almost everything. So.
Yeah.
When it came to brewing beer, Zach, what was the first beer you ever brewed?
First beer I ever brewed was a double New England IPA. Yeah.
We actually filmed it on the show, right?
We filmed it on the show. This is my first ever home brew. It was a mess, but luckily Derrick was there to clean it up a little bit. And it turned out okay for the most part. And I got like super excited and super overconfident. I'm like, I could do this. Like the next beer after I decided to throw a full carrot cake into a beer. And it was a disaster. I was like, how to take me off of my high horse, you know? It's just like, no, it's still beer. Like there's still general principles to making beer, so you can't just throw shit in it. So
nothing like building yourself up to come crashing down.
Exactly. Harsh realities, man. Harsh realities.
The second you think you're getting good at it, you're like something just throws you a curveball, and you're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
And yourself, Derrick, what was the first beer you ever brewed?
It must have just been a regular pale ale.
Okay.
It's about 11 years ago, so
it's a long time to be brewing homebrew. So collaborations, have you done any? Any collaborations, either with a distillery and maybe a coffee?
So let's say in our history, we did one of our good friends is the owner of Vagabond Brewery. Okay. So our first collaboration was with them. We made a sour with Groseille. I'm not sure what that is in English.
It's red currant.
Okay, with red currant. And so that was like our first collaboration because their anniversary is about like 1 week difference than ours. So we did it like that. And then similarly, when we opened up the Taproom last year, there was Overhop. Overhop, which were even here yesterday, were also their anniversary is now. It was yesterday.
Yeah, they're one of their future interviews. They told me they're renovating right now. So
they're building.
Whenever you're ready, guys, let us know.
So last year they celebrated their anniversary here, and we had made an acai and a blueberry sour.
Okay.
So
that was a really cool beer.
Yeah.
It was super smooth, but had a really nice tartness to it. And acai is something really not used very often in the brewing world.
It's nice and earthy. Nice and earthy. The concept was to make a beer that had something of Brazil and something from here. So the blueberry and the acai made the one. And then apart from that, we just did one with Shelton Brewery, which is going to be a carrot cake pastry porter, I guess.
Yeah,
it's a brown, but it's like a pastry brown doesn't sound very good, so we're calling it pastry porter.
I mean, there's so much amazing stuff you could do with beer now. Like whoever is just like, I'm going to throw in banana bread. Oh, I have banana bread beer. It's delicious. So.
It's what we've been doing the last 2 weeks have been ridiculous. We have a taco beer. We have the sours.
Up the street, I had a jalapeno beer and like a spice puts in. I'm like, I'm dying, but I can't finish. So,
why is this not refreshing me?
This hurts, but I spent money. I have to. So, any future collaborations you guys want to do? Quebec, Ontario, Canada, the world?
I think one of the major ones we're looking forward to is going to be we've been talking about it for a while. We'd be hooking up with Wood Brothers in Ontario.
Okay.
That would be one of the ones that we want to try to set up. Been trying to see how we can get stuff in Vermont, but everybody's so busy on all sides. But it'd be nice to try to get something from the other side. But we've been sending out a little bit of requests. Nothing really is biting that much.
Yeah, there's so many breweries in Vermont that I still... this summer alone, I hit 22 Vermont breweries over this summer. And there's still 40 to go.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. They're all busy. And they probably are just like getting so many requests to do collaborations that it's not pushing them so much. But
Zach, any dream collaborations?
Yeah, no, like Derek said, that would be really cool to try and do a collaboration with some people in the States. If some sort of Belgian collaboration could be cool as well, like considering the history of Belgian style beers here in Quebec, I think we've been wanting to explore more and more wild fermentation and try to discover more that side. And so I think that could be cool as well if we can.
So my understanding, the wild fermentation is a very new thing in Quebec.
Not really.
Or it's finally just being allowed.
The only part about the wild fermentation would be spontaneous fermentation that just became legal probably about 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. Yeah. But the mixed fermentation or wild fermentation, as long as it was pitched with an amount of yeast, it didn't matter. Okay. It would still work. Okay. It's just the having a cool ship and letting it ferment out like that. That's been recently.
That's new.
Yeah,
that's new.
That's
exciting for sure.
Yeah, because we had the laws made it that you had to inoculate, you had to put some sort of yeast, but then people would just say, you just take one grain of one dry yeast, throw that in. Technically, you've done it, and then let it.
Everything, right?
Well, that's my understanding of gluten-free beer is that there's so faint of a trace of gluten that anybody intolerant won't taste it, but there's still technically gluten in it. It's 0.001% or something. So.
I'm not sure.
Definitely a way to go about it.
Yeah.
What's beer number 3 you brought me today?
That's pretty much the only flagship we keep on, which is our Peanut Buster. So the first 2 can releases we ever did were that beer. It's a oatmeal stout with lactose, and then we have peanut flavor.
That lovely Reese's Pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this beer. I brought it around. We did one of our beer tastings with the guys, and we're just like, it's Reese. No, it's peanut butter cups. No, it's the little chocolate ones. No, you're wrong.
Well, I guess the Imperial version might have thrown you a curve.
I unfortunately missed out on the Imperial.
Okay.
I didn't catch any cans, unfortunately. So
that was cool. With the dosing of that started off very, very delicate. I would say we started off just going slowly and adding a little bit of coconut, and a little bit of chocolate, a little bit of nibs, and then we were okay, more, and that was an 8-hour process. It was
dosing. A 2 day, 2 times 8 hours, pretty much.
2 times 8 hours, and we just finally got to a point where it was okay, this is super decadent, and it was.
No, I'm kind of sad.
Really
so mentioning canning, you guys have canning events.
Yeah,
that's very unique. I've never seen that before in Quebec. So,
in the sense of
having it as an event, are new cans releasing? Do you can on property and then just bring them out?
Yes.
Here you go.
So, the first one that we did, we tried to do a live canning, which didn't exactly turn out because by the time we were done canning it, it was already it was at 3 p.m. and there wasn't that many people. It was 3 p.m. on a Thursday or something.
Okay.
Yeah. So we wanted to have it a little bit over. We might try to do it again at some point, doing something where we start canning a little bit later, and then the people can come and pretty much take them off the line.
Okay.
Now what we're doing is we're just canning on Wednesdays, and then we're releasing on Thursdays. Because if we release on Saturday or Friday, it's just we're too busy already, so it gets crazy. So we want to try to move it towards a Thursday, so people still have a little bit more time. And
there'd be zero chance of doing that during the summer. It's just so touristy here.
We'd be able to do it during the summer almost just as easy because the insides are empty. So you could just have somebody at the counter here and deal with it very easily because people don't come inside during the summer.
On the terrace.
Yeah. You get if the terrace is full, then you get the overflow. Apart from that, it's desolate.
That's how
inside.
I ended up here because I'd gone to your original brew pub upstairs a bit. It was full, and me and my friend, it was summer, so it's the back terrace is full. Okay, back to the front terrace is full. Oh, let's go into the taproom. It's good because you guys were super busy that day.
Yeah,
I was told a half hour for just 2 people. I'm I'm just gonna go drink inside. I don't have time for this.
Yeah. Well, that's we got a lot of people just due to overflow because that's always how it's been. But at least downstairs, you're inside a place that has light. Because I was like the first year when we opened, I think our first clients that sat at the bar inside must have been like 4 months in, because we opened up it's pretty much in summertime, and then nobody was inside, and people would only come in go to the bathroom and go, oh, this place looks nice, and then just go to the bathroom and then leave. And you're like, God, are we gonna get people in here someday?
That's not great. I mean, slow start when you think about it, but from what I've seen, you're successful, which is great.
Yeah.
I know you guys are super busy. Beer vacations prior to being super busy, and maybe any upcoming beer vacations.
I think, I think the like year before the brewery opened, I think I might have been in Vermont like 8 times in the year. Derrick and I, like, for sure, we go quite as often as we can. I think in the future we're planning on going to Richmond soon, Virginia area in general, and go around there and spot a couple breweries over there. Clearly, we like this smoothie vice style, so we're going to go explore people that are doing it real well down the States. We're doing the Craft Brewers Conference as well, and it's about that for the next little bit.
In
San Antonio this year.
This year at San Antonio.
Yourself, Derrick, any other beer vacations?
Not like what I have planned is pretty much I'm going with Zach to Virginia, and but apart from that, it's pretty much any vacation I take is a beer vacation. I just came back a few months ago from Hawaii and did every brewery over there, and just always trying to find a flavor, find something. Like the idea is always to come back from vacation with something cool in mind, right?
Yeah, something.
So I really want to make a pineapple
fermenting
something.
in your brain.
Yeah, it's inspiring. You know, the amount of breweries that they have down south is just like overwhelming, and so there's just so much room to learn and to expand. Expand your horizons.
Because like the Peanut Buster came from like most of my big beers came from vacation stuff. Like the Peanut Buster, I tried a beer in Germany that was a beer from California, and I was like, what is this? I had never tried a peanut butter beer before, and then I came back going, I need to make this one. So came back from Germany going, I'm going to make a peanut butter stout.
I know, like just in the Northeast sector, I mean, you could hit Grand Rapids in Michigan, huge beer scene there. Yeah. Maine's got like 80-something breweries, but they're all kind of spread out, which is, you have to spend like a month in Maine to hit many breweries. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure.
I'm assuming you guys getting your BMC drinkers, Bud Mosecours. What do you suggest they try when they come in?
It really depends on what they're willing to take. So we always have a blonde on tap that we try to let the people take, and that's what we'll push them towards. Otherwise, we'll just go towards like the juiciest IPA, or if we have a smoothie Weiss, those are easy to go towards. Anything that just has a low amount of bitterness. And what's nice about giving people a New England IPA that's just really light on the bitterness, something like the first one you had, the Cumulus would fit nicely because it's just an easy drinking beer, and it kind of, the idea would be to get the people to like change their idea of what hoppy means, because it's one of the terms I hate the most when they go into a bar and they go, I don't want a hoppy beer. It's like, what do you mean? Do you mean bitter? Do you mean like fragrant? Do you mean fruity? Do you mean there's so many descriptors? Yeah. So because too many people use the hoppy as just meaning bitter. Like they don't understand that when they go to a bar and they say, I don't want a hoppy beer, that they're probably only talking about the old style West Coast IPAs. Yeah. So that's usually what we try to veer people towards. But we do have like a big list of beers here. We have every style, so we're able to go from a red to a white to the fruited stuff to the stouts. We always have something available for everybody. That's one of the biggest things that we have to do, is because we are that restaurant, we are that brew pub. We can't just be one thing, because then people, they want to come here, they want to have food. But okay, great. Half our business is food. So you have to be able to have the people be satisfied with what they're able to take in terms of products. And same thing, like, because downstairs we're 100% Canadian products. So wines and everything, it's the same thing. We're just 100%.
Because you have your multiple licenses, you have hard alcohol and
exactly.
Stuff, so. And like you said, you guys started as a whiskey beer bar. So.
Yeah, which is like, that's the pub remains that. Pub has just, you go into it and you kind of just take any kind of alcohol you want. You can take whiskey. And downstairs we wanted to just push Quebec products. Okay. Well, mainly Quebec, then a lot of Canadian products too.
Very cool. What's the last beer you brought me today?
I guess we're calling our project series. It's pretty much what we brew on our small batch system. We have a 200-liter system where we can experiment and try different things. Like Derrick and I, every time we come back from Vermont, we're always saying the same thing. God, I wish we could have like Heady Topper on tap. So this is, I guess, kind of an homage to those kind of classic style IPAs from Vermont. We do them nice and crisp. We do them kind of sharp. They're hoppy as hell, but they're not your, I guess, what's kind of the juice that's kind of going on with New England IPAs now. This is more of the classic version of that, so it's still got a nice bitter kick to it. And it's kind of our attempt to have the beers that we love and always come back to on tap for us to drink.
I've always thought if I ever got into brewing, I would just like go to a brewery and just pour it into like a test tube and just sneak it back across the board and be like, how do I brew this?
A lot of people do, man. A lot of people do. They culture the yeast from the cans and they try to reproduce it at home. We didn't go that hardcore with it. We just went kind of based on our palates of what we like from that area.
Oh, that's very good. I crushed this. So.
Yeah, and it's an 8.5 too. So.
Oh God.
So
okay, don't drink and drive.
The idea around it is like we on those ones like that's like you said, a crisp one. So it ferments really low. The water profile is completely different than what we do on our other New England IPAs. So the idea is like where Vermont beers were maybe 10 years ago instead of where they are now, or where Quebec is now. Just like that hazy, still like development style of New England IPAs.
Yeah, I can't believe you told me that's 8.5. That doesn't taste like it at all.
Because like, the biggest things that we do a lot of New England IPAs, which is because that's what we like to brew.
It's also the popular style, right?
Of course.
For sure.
But what we like, the important part, and it's always something that we try to look at is let's make it so that you can have 6 different New England IPAs and they all taste completely different. Be it because of their water profile is different, the hops, they're not like, except maybe an overlapping Citra hop that would be part of a lot of the brews. It's not always there, and it's not necessarily the dominant hop unless we want it to be. But then you taste every beer will have a different flavor. Because sometimes if there's too many of the same beers, after the second IPA, you just can't taste anything. You can't tell what it is. Sure. But if you're jumping from something like the Vermont, going to the triple, going to the Cumulus, you could always taste the beer.
Going to like an oat cream, things like that, which is really an interesting style for us. So.
Yeah, usually when I do a tasting, I always try and start with like the lager or the basic ale, and then work my way up to like more wild things. So, and obviously, I like to do it, but IBU is subjective, I see, so it's just like go with the lowest IBU and then work your way up so that the people who can't really stand bitter, they end on bitter, but they've already had a bunch of good beers in the meantime. So. Yeah, for sure. Now, I know you guys usually do guest taps here as well?
Barely.
Okay.
But it was during the summertime, and we started to do there was always that question, should we? When we were building up, we're like, yeah, for sure, we're going to keep those taps on. However, they're sleeper taps. Okay. We put them on and nobody buys them because they come here, they want to have our products. So unless it's like a banger from a specific company, or one keg will go somewhat quickly because we have enough regulars that come where they've had all our beers and then like, oh, look, something new. The second keg is eternal though, right? Okay. You pass through the first one, you could go through one in a weekend, and then the second keg will last 2-3 weeks sometimes.
Right, which makes sense, right? Like people get here and they see these tanks and they're like, well, no, I want to drink what's in that. You know?
Sure. Yeah. That makes a lot more sense because I think it was when you kind of just first opened this area. It was like, I think it was Lagavulin, Shelton. You had a bunch of. I'm assuming your friends.
It's when we opened. We pretty much like 2 months after or 3 months after we opened, our contract brewer closed, so we weren't able to brew anymore. And then I went out, we did collaborations with Avant-Garde, and then did a collaboration with LTM, Les Mousquetaires, to get beers on tap. And then I did a little bit of contract brewing with LTM, but it just, I couldn't take the time to do proper control on stuff, and the products we were getting they were okay, but I wasn't 100% satisfied with them. Yeah, sure. Because I was just learning how, and I didn't want to, because you have to learn how every brewery tastes. Mm-hmm. Everybody has different tastes based on the equipment. It's distinct, and it takes a while to learn that. So taking the time to necessarily learn that and get 2,000 liters of it, and wasn't exactly what we wanted to do, so we just kind of stopped. And at that point, it just our stocks, our reserve disappeared, and the board just filled up with other people's beer.
Okay.
Which was, we were going through like 40, 50 at least different products a week.
Wow.
Just constant rotation.
Yeah, that's good though. That's busy.
Yeah, everybody was really happy until we stopped sharp, because we're going through 3,500 liters of people's beers per week, and then the second our production started, we just completely cut that off and filled up the board. Yeah. And I was also getting annoyed at some point of having other people's beers on tap, and then people, like, we'd read reviews sometimes and go, oh, their beer, like BreWskey's beers aren't that great. And I'm like, it's not our beers. I don't mind that you rate that. Mm-hmm. But it's not fun if it's like, that none of your beers are on tap.
Yeah. So speaking of on tap or Untappd, you guys are a verified venue on Untappd.
Yeah. We've been for we were almost the first ones in Montreal.
Okay. Do you find that helps drive the beer snobs?
100%. Especially because we were trying to find something because for a long time it wasn't much part of the beer culture in Montreal, but it was huge in the US, and we are more than anything, and for the longest time, a US bar. Because we get all the people that were traveling that would come here, then they'd click on their app and automatically the verified venues would be sending people here. From day one, once we became verified, we saw a big influx of people during the summertime, of people wanting to, and even more when we, the year after, they developed the badge process, where you can have your own custom badge, and then it's people wanted to come in here to get that badge.
Yeah, I'm one of those people.
So really, it helps and it's great. Like,
it's a fantastic tool, right?
Yeah.
It's great. I think a lot of brewers kind of resent it at a certain point, and it can be a crazy headache. It could drive you insane if constantly watching the ratings and whatnot. But I mean, it's definitely a big tool, and it's super super useful to get people trying your beers and get people talking about your beers. And
but in many cases it is a bit limiting in what you. It will make you do different decisions sometimes. Like a can release, you question, should I be releasing a West Coast IPA in a can? And for us, we're like, we'll just leave them on tap. We'll make them, we want them, we want to have to be able to drink them. But if you release them in cans, then suddenly it could affect your rating. And then the rating in line makes how many people will actually come through your door that are the beer people from around the world. They want that. So.
Yeah, which is why it's like a good medium between us and the consumer. It lets us know what the people want to drink and how they will respond to it too, so we can keep learning and we can keep moving forward and progressing as a brewery.
But it's one small percentage of the side of brewing. It's very important for those big beers, like the big stouts, the big fruited sours, and the big IPAs. It's great for that side. But any other side, if I'm looking at Untappd and I'm going, what are my big beers? I can tell it's going to be the IPAs. It's going to be those juices. It's going to be those. But then I listen to my staff that are serving people. They're like, "What are the big beers?" Oh, the West Coast, the clear double IPAs, the whites that are those are the ones, like the peanut buster. Those are the ones that the regular beer drinker wants. So it's really both sides. We have to look at it on a double on two ways. Exactly.
I mean, even somebody's like, "Oh, I don't like this type of beer, so I really don't want it." It's like, then don't try that type of beer.
Yeah.
So don't give it a bad rating.
Yeah, and some beers just naturally get bad ratings. We had a Pilsner on tap, and we loved that Pilsner. I was drinking that after work all the time. It was fantastic, in my opinion. But the Untappd just doesn't rate those beers well. Like you put the moment it's in the lager area, suddenly it just gets significantly downvoted.
I think those are changing though.
I don't get that because if I have a lager at a place because I know it is a pain in the butt to make, and that lager's good, you're getting a high rating from it.
For sure.
But I think it's changing that because the beer consumer the Untappd consumer is now doing both. They are going into breweries and they are having the Pilsners and which is the main one that people do because it's just such a hoppy lager, right? Yeah. They're starting to get good ratings. But you have a blonde ale, that like blonde ale or red ale, all those, they start if an equivalent of a 4 or 5 on that is a 3.2.
Yeah.
It's like if you have a 3.6, you have a banger if you have a red ale.
Yeah. You always get the guy who's like, oh, I gave you a 2.5 on Untappd, but I only rate Pilsners on 3. So this is actually a great score for you guys. Good job. Keep up the good work. Thanks, man.
I hate those. Especially I really don't like reds. This is a good one. 2.3.
Oh, man.
What is
this?
Yeah,
that's got to be a little morally frustrating at the same time, but you're just like...
Well, it's part of the brewery's livelihood, you know? It's
crazy. So speaking of Untappd, I know they do a festival. If you guys could bring your beer to the States or other provinces, would you?
I would for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Definitely.
It's just always hard because every festival, like the major ones, with the exception of like that cuvée that's happening next week, is during the summertime.
Yeah.
And we get flooded with people. So we're only doing 2 events, but it'd be great if there's a little bit more winter events, and then it becomes easy. Okay, yeah, let's get some beer out. We do have the volume to be able to get them out. But summertime is just getting those extra kegs. They're nice for exposure, and they're nice to be beside other places, get compared to them. That's nice. But in terms of our possible output, it gets problematic.
Yeah, I'm fine with like Laval's outdoors, which is great because it rains.
That's one of the ones we're doing.
Yeah, we did that last year.
The Mondial moved back to Windsor, which I complained about because I liked the Palais de Congrès because you could keep expanding.
Yeah,
and then I felt like
it was tiny last year.
So I'm a little frustrated with them. That cuvée will be my first time, and I'm going to be media, so this will be interesting.
Great.
I've never done anything.
Yeah.
And I know it's gin this year. I missed, was it Scotch last year or whiskey? Because I know they do a different hard liquor every year.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
I always thought it was gin.
I always thought it was whiskey.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was last year was whiskey.
We clearly go for the beer.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going for beer. I mean, I'm not the biggest gin fan in the world, but I'm going to try some distilled gin for sure.
No, and Quebec's very well known for some fantastic gins, so by all means.
Exactly. So what's next for the BreWskey brand?
Oof. Just more and more releases, pretty much. That's what our main focus is on, because that's what's been nice for us. Because at this time of the year, we were just like making these big batches of beer and then putting them on tap, and then it was taking a little bit of time, so we were just not producing as much. And now, since that we have the cans and they're coming out, we can sell 2,000 liters. Suddenly, we can bring all our new beverages as much as possible. So probably just keep experimenting, always trying to push as much as we can in a direction and see if people like it. That's what's nice. With the 200-liter system in the back allows us to just do anything. Cool. And we'll go as crazy as we can and see if it works. And if it doesn't, 200 liters, that didn't work.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure somebody will definitely drink it.
Yeah, everybody will drink something once. It's all about that second cup of beer. Like, but that's for now. It's what it is. We're like just trying to ramp up production, and because we did such a big jump last year, and that's where we're going to stand for now. Just increase quality and become better brewers, I think.
Awesome. So I have no other questions for you guys at this time. Let the people know where they can find you physically and on social media.
All right, so there's at BreWskey, or that's on Facebook and on Instagram. That's about it. I don't really have my own personal accounts.
There's a website.
Yeah. Okay. There's a website.
Yeah. You could find me on Instagram, just at Zack Heuff, and posting stupid beer photos all the time.
Yeah, welcome to my world. Cool. So we're gonna add everything in the show notes, and you can find us everywhere at All Beer Inside. And as I always say, drink craft, not crap.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Very appreciated.
Thank you.